Here we go. Here we go.
I'm still ready.
Okay. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Alice.
Splash in the chat says he has the flu and he hasn't turned gay, so it must be a different variant than you
Give
have.
it time. Give it time. Give it time.
Everyone will be pleased to know Tom is back.
I am. Go ahead, Alice. Take the floor.
You're back. My log is back.
Oh my goodness.
Tom is back.
That's right.
He's not gay anymore. So.
Thank you. Yeah, we're over it. We're over it.
Not that there's anything
Alice
wrong
used-
with that, as Seinfeld
Alice used
said,
her
but-
own version of conversion therapy, and I am no longer a homosexual. I enjoyed my time on the other team, Alice.
Or, I mean, you were like ace, right?
Ace?
Ace is short for asexual, which is the A in the LGBTQIA+.
Really?
Yeah.
Who knew? Wow. Yeah, I was ace.
So you were on the rainbow spectrum.
Yes. Yeah, I get to run up to Michael Knowles, turn my chair around, and sit like a tough guy with an attitude.
Oh man, we played you guys a couple cuts of the Knowles stuff. Did we do that in the Patreon show yesterday, or the main show? I don't even remember. Okay, so you guys have to go watch this Michael Knowles thing. It's on this YouTube channel, Jubilee, where they do this surrounded thing every time, where it's like one liberal versus 20 conservatives.
It was 1 hour, right? 1 hour long.
Maybe even a little longer. Yeah, but
Let me tell you something. It was 1 full hour of fantastic content. If you liked What Is a Woman, just watch this.
Yeah, it's What Is a Woman, but without intending to be.
Make yourself comfortable. Here's one of the one of the dudes who's dressed like Monica Lewinsky or something with a full look confronting him. I'm sorry.
About women so much.
Oh, hold on, Madrone Brothers. Here we go.
Like, you care to claim about women so much because trans people in the bathroom is so scary.
My claim
What
here
are we doing
is
in other areas?
my actual claim here is that transgenderism is false and we should eradicate it from public life because it's harmful to everyone.
Okay.
That's my actual. If you want to talk about the claim, we're
let's
actually
start with that
debating.
then.
Yeah.
What does transgenderism in public look like to you?
It's allowing men to be treated for the purposes of the law as women. It's men taking 900 sports trophies from women in recent years.
And they didn't take 900.
They took 900. There's a report just came out from the United Nations, actually. 890 trophies and medals across 600 women who were competitors, across 29 different sports and 400 competitions. That came out like yesterday.
And they deserved them.
It didn't happen, and they deserve them. Okay, that is the logic I hear from the pro-trans crowd. Yeah.
Thank you. They do deserve them because I'm sure they followed the specifications for the sport, and that's why they were there in the first place.
So it's a lot of that. So don't expect to get any smarter during this. And
it's not. It's not going to make you smarter. It's just a feel-good thing where you get confirmation bias that everyone who doesn't agree is a complete psychopath.
And not only that, but the people who came in the hottest with the sassy attitudes were by far the stupidest. The thing starts out with a very weak-chinned beta guy who actually was not a waste of time. Who was actually who was good. Is it interlocutor, Alice?
Interlocutor?
Interlocutor, is that what that's called?
I guess, sort of. Okay, go ahead.
Isn't it an interlocutor a questioner or a debater?
I thought it was more somebody who comes in between, who interrupts.
Maybe I wasn't ready for that word.
Well, it's a person who takes part in a dialogue or conversation.
There you go. I'm smart.
Okay. From the Latin.
But other than that, it is...
But it's great. It's fantastic viewing. Like, I could watch that all day.
Oh, totally.
These people. Because, I mean, Michael Knowles is so smart, and a few of them try to be smart or have clearly, looked him up or just read the Wikipedia page on something recently to find out what conservatives believe. But it's fascinating because he comes and brings receipts and they're just all and the problem for them is too. And so it's really through no fault of their own sort of, but everything they've been told isn't true and has no foundation in fact or science or history or anything else. So they've been told a bunch of stuff that's not true. So of course they can't support it. Like they have been told in their gender studies classes that like all different cultures throughout the world have had totally different perceptions of gender and marriage throughout history. And like, while it's true there's been polygamy, there's nowhere where, even amongst cultures that are very, very accepting of homosexual relationships in some form or other, like the Greeks or the Romans, like there's never been a society on earth where marriage has been
and they've been done no favors by their side because
because they've been given bad information. Where they're like,
not only just given bad information, but they have been given bad information, fundamentally bad information. The whole constructs have been assembled for them. Not only that, but what's wrong is that they've also been given every possible accommodation. Mm-hmm. So some of them think they present well, and like, don't I present well? And like the people there are going, yeah. It's like, no, you don't. And so when somebody like Knowles shows up and says things that are they would never hear to their faces, like you're not a real trans.
Like you're pretending to be a woman.
Exactly, and you're not, and you have nothing to do with that, and it doesn't exist, and that doesn't like. They have never heard somebody speak like that, and so never. They're concussed at the beginning of the exchange. It's really fantastic. It's really fantastic. But if you've been busy all day, Alice, between you haven't been busy all day actually. You've been busy the last 6 hours making the largest multi-course dinner the history of the world has ever known.
My son wanted to do a project where he planned a menu and made a shopping list.
Thankfully, his mother is the most over-the-top person who has ever roamed the earth. So
I talked him down from some of his dishes that he wanted.
We have 18 dishes.
Okay, well, we'll have yummy leftovers for a couple days.
You and I better get hungry. We should go get high or something because that's a lot of food to eat.
I also was busy today breaking up the ice in your driveway, which my hand is now crippled from.
That's a good one. Rock salt, man, it worked great last night and then melted all of a bunch of the ice. But it then it was working so well that we had a river going down our driveway, and then it flash froze in the middle of the night. And so, we
had like an inch thick of ice on our entire insane, long, slippery driveway all the way down, and which I broke up with a metal shovel and shoveled off the driveway today.
I was at work, paying the bills. Paying the bills.
I had a day off today. So
you know what Donald Trump is doing?
But my hand is now crippled from like hacking away at the driveway onto the concrete with a metal shovel. The vibrations that it sent into my hand have now... Can you get like instant carpal tunnel? Because I have that now. Whatever it is, my little paw doesn't work anymore, like at all. So,
while this is all happening today, Donald Trump was spending his day crashing airplanes.
I did want to, underscore, to pick up on the conversation you were just having, though, in terms of the recent string of aviation incidents, Tom. This is going to, yet again, raise the concern about FAA staffing, air traffic control staff.
This is NBC. I don't even know if you saw this today. A Delta flight crashed in Toronto and flipped or whatever. Nobody's dead as yet.
Well, and actually, earlier today, Pete Buttigieg was tweeting like, we demand to know who's been fired from the FAA.
So this is yes, Trump has fired all the people who prevent crashes. This is what him and Doge and his little
They decided that was inefficient, preventing plane crashes.
Exactly.
Now, this is a Canadian air traffic control tower, and this is under Canadian authority once it crosses the border.
But I'm going to say it anyway.
Well, and by the way, do Trump and Elon Musk strike you as people who fly a lot?
I would say they fly.
I mean, it
more
seems
than someone.
To me, it would be in their self-interest to have a country where planes don't fall out of the sky.
Yes.
And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal work.
He is weaving a Trump narrative into this breaking live airplane crash news and weaving it right in there. These people are effing nuts.
But as we found out on 60 Minutes, by the way, the entire media has lost their mind completely. They're not okay.
Well,
you
that's
thought
right.
that Margaret Brennan saying that the Nazis had too much free speech was like the worst of it.
Did we play that last night here?
Yes, we did that yesterday, the Nazis and the free speech. But
We didn't. Oh, I don't think we did, dude.
We did. I
60
remember.
minutes wouldn't have been on by the
not
time we did the
60
podcast.
minutes, but Margaret Brennan and the
Oh,
Nazis
that.
and the free
Okay.
speech we did
Okay.
yesterday. But the 60 minutes that came out. Well, let's just say that if the point was to rebut J.D. Vance about how Europe is no longer values free speech and the Germans have a censorship problem, they failed to do that.
No, they celebrated Nazi stormtroopers kicking down doors and busting people for posting memes.
It literally must be one of the most insane sequences I've
Before we
ever
get-
seen on the conventional
Before
news
we- and I
in
need,
my
I need
life.
to find that cut. The last thing she says is like about German
The
German order.
We've injected some German order into
But that was the
your
American
chaotic
anchor.
internet.
That was the
Yeah.
the American anchor is like,
Yeah.
so good old fashioned German order. Like get the
wait.
trains to the concentration camps. It's like, wow. Anyway, here's another thing. This is not the only thing Trump did wrong. He also killed a man in Georgia and then celebrated in Daytona.
You know, a lot of Americans were having a really bad weekend because of these storms. So over 10 people passed away because of these storms that were hitting the eastern side of the United States. 9 alone dying in Kentucky, people drowning in their cars, tens of thousands without power. President Trump signed the emergency declaration, but he didn't, as far as I know, put out a statement. He didn't go out there. He's not going to meet the families, as far as I have heard. And you say if Joe Biden had done this, if Joe Biden had shown up at the Daytona 500 while there were people living under emergency declarations and passing away in Georgia, a tree fell into a guy's house and ended up killing him.
Do you think this is a fair comparison?
Oh my God.
That you're
Why?
taking,
Oh my
you're taking.
God.
This is not a hurricane event. You're talking about storms. So he needs to respond to every single death.
No.
Then he wouldn't be president.
Well, he needs to, I think, say something when the whole point was criticizing Joe Biden for absolutely everything that he ever did. I mean,
Because
you
he
said that
never
if you
did anything. Start with
Really?
North Carolina.
That's not
Start-
true.
Did Biden get blamed for every tree that fell down in America?
No.
I mean, like, just mostly things he was responsible for.
Well, but here's the other thing, Stu. She's like, no, use all your attacks that you used on Biden. You need to use them on Trump. And no, that's not true. We don't need to use them on Trump. We were sold, and you tried to package Biden as a certain kind of person. And more compassionate, more hands-on, knows where all the offices are, knows where things are, how to make Washington work. Was a better man, contrite, etc. And so Biden had a lot of this stuff coming because he was the worst president that there's ever been in this country, including
We've had
Andrew
some
Johnson.
bad ones.
He's the worst that there's ever been.
Wilson was pretty bad.
Nope, Biden was worse. He's the worst that there has ever been. Just think about, using the DOJ. Wilson did it to throw reporters in jail. You think Biden absolutely hounded people. So no, I'm sorry, and we're not going to. This isn't about, oh, Tom, you criticize Biden for going on golfing, going on vacation, whatever. You need to do it to Trump. First of all, I don't need to do it to Trump. I'm less bothered by Trump when he does it. I don't care. I have several different sets of standards. And Trump is a different animal. He's a different cat. I thought Trump being at the Daytona 500 was brilliant. And I guarantee you, people flooded houses in Kentucky were glad he was there, too.
Yeah, and Phil raises this point. This is so interesting. Like, remember how Let's Go Brandon was created?
Yeah.
Was Biden showing up at I think it was like a NASCAR type event anyway, some kind of racing. And I don't know anything about that world, so I'm sure I'm getting it wrong.
By the way, I don't even think Biden showed up there. I think just organically, like the Yankees suck
he didn't even go there. Okay,
No.
so the crowd at this thing was chanting F Joe Biden.
Exactly.
And the reporter, and this was the point of Let's Go Brandon, was and why it was perfect was because it was all about media dishonesty, particularly about Biden, right? Which they took all the way to the end, to their own detriment in this past election, right? But the dishonesty was this reporter said that they were actually chanting Let's Go Brandon. Even though everybody there, including the viewer at home, could hear that what the crowd was chanting was not, in fact, Let's Go Brandon at all.
Right. You know what? I think, Alice, that's a good point. That might be the beginning of Act 2 of the populist movement. Because the left was absolutely humorless about it. And the right
No,
was
they're saying let's go, Brandon.
right. No, exactly. And then they found no humor with we had a "Let's Go Brandon" bumper sticker or something. It's like, we know what that means, I'm sure Sue O'Connell said, "I know what you mean by 'Let's Go Brandon.'" We all know what you mean. Yeah, it's funny.
I know. We mean you guys are dishonest
Right.
a-holes and Biden's terrible. That's what we mean. Congratulations, you cracked the secret code. Oh, that Sue O'Connell video you were showing me today too was like insane also. But yeah, the whole thing with the media is that they have lost their freaking minds, and that this like hysteria that Jessica Tarlov is showing here, lots of Tarlov commentary in the chat, but
Who we find hot, by the way.
I know that's what Marcus says. Tom's girlfriend, Jessica Tarlov. Yeah, this hysteria where you can like feel their voices rising as they get more. No, you have to find. What I'm saying is that you can like feel them getting upset, like they're emotional about this.
Oh, they're absolutely emotional. And even in the town we used to live in, they're...
So they had a standout today.
They had a standout today. And
protesting at
in
Melrose
one of the
City
people
Hall.
who's a very well-educated master's degree person who I used to think, well, I mean, we used to be friends when I was there. We used to do fat camp together, although she wasn't fat. She posted February 28th, 2025. On February 28th, we turn it off. For one day, we show them who really holds the power. When? Friday, February 28th, from 12 to 11:59 p.m. What not to do? Do not make any purchases. Do not shop online or in store. No Amazon, no Walmart, no Best Buy, nowhere. Do not spend money on, fast food, gas, major retailers. Do not use credit or debit cards for non-essential spending. What you can do? Only buy essentials or absolute necessity, food, medicine, emergency supplies. If you must spend, only support small local businesses. Spread the message. Talk about it. Post about it. And document your actions that day. What this matters? Corporations and banks only care about their bottom line. If we disrupt the economy for just one day, it sends a powerful message. If they don't listen, they won't. We make the next blackout longer. We will. So, so understand that rich 53-year-old women in Canada Goose jackets are going to bring the economy to its knees.
By buying stuff either the day before or the day after.
Yes,
this one day.
Absolutely, they're going to show us. They're going to show us. The Starbucks in Melrose is going to move far fewer scones that day. So
I can't.
My question is,
So
once they bring the economy to its knees, and then show us that they have all the power, then what are the concessions that they're going to ask?
Well, I assume they want Musk gone.
So he's got to go probably to jail, I assume.
Probably. I mean, like, how else do you keep him from?
And do they give?
How do you keep him from talking in public? Because he
does
keeps doing
Kamala
that.
have to? Does she get the presidency? Like, what exactly?
I don't know. I don't know what the plan is.
They don't know what they're upset about. They know that they need to be upset. They've exercised this muscle of being upset for a long, long time. But now they don't have something. They don't have like these ongoing narratives like the Russia thing. There's no, Robert Mueller's on it now, changing their avatar to Robert Mueller, who, by the way, if you remember when he testified, is a psychotic who remembered nothing about the Mueller report or investigating Trump's. It's like, what are you?
No, but he's a character now in their ongoing, what are those shows called? Soap opera that they're living in. Like, rich stay-at-home moms used to watch soap operas and be into that. Now, instead, they watch Maddow and they're, like, into the politics
the problem
soap opera.
Is their moms watched soap operas. And their moms now, who are in their 70s and 80s, judge them now. And so I'm not going to be like my mom was with their soap operas. I'm going to be activisty. I'm getting out there.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's all like made up characters and storylines and plot twists and stuff that they're into. Like this month, they're all into the Mueller report, and then the next month, they're all into Project 2025, and now they're like none of them had heard of USAID until last week, but now they all are USAID experts. Like they're just we're in the next season of their stories that are on TV.
And that thing that I just read was an image or a meme that's out there. I noticed that how very few of them ever post anything on Facebook that's original. It's their own post. And no, it's always
it's
these
all
things.
copy-pasted
Yes, it's
junk.
all copy-pasted junk.
Right, it could all be written by ChatGPT. It's all stupid slop. Like none of it
I gotta
means
be upset.
anything.
You gotta be upset. Find me a good meme. Oh, I see.
Well, and I have friends
Nobody
who are
elected Elon. Here we go.
Well, and I have friends who are like, oh my gosh, this person's post gets so much attention. Like, you should post on it and argue with him. Like, you're so good at arguing these points. You'd really change my... Like, I'm not going to argue in the comments on someone's Facebook post. Like, are you guys kidding me? What a waste of time into their stupid copy pasta about Robert Mueller. It's insanity.
You say copy pasta?
Yeah.
What is that?
That's a phrase that people use for when people like copy paste posts like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I find it very attractive that you said that. And I do like that saying, copy pasta. Who knew?
Talked to some Arizona voters who switched from voting for Joe Biden in 2020 to Trump in 2024. And so far, they mostly like what they see.
I just think he's trying to get America back on track as quickly as possible, given the state that it was left in from the previous administration.
It feels more merit and transparency that I'm getting from the administration so far.
I approve of a lot of the stuff that he's doing with the border and everything.
He's put other countries on notice that were to be taken seriously.
For the most part, I feel like he's on the right track by keeping transgenders out of women's sports. That's number one.
All 11 Biden-Trump voters say they approve of Donald Trump's first weeks in office. My panel is back.
See, this is the problem, is because they have that's what all the polls are saying, what all their focus groups are saying is that no one's upset about this. Everyone likes this. People like what's going on.
Right.
The only people upset about it are people who had already worked themselves up into this lather about Donald Trump, I mean, all these years ago, and have been on like a blue and on Rachel Maddow white wine diet ever since. Like, they can't take it. So they're the only people, which is why, like, I don't believe the Jessica Tarlov story about the bro who's messaging her saying he's really upset about how the first few weeks of Donald Trump has been. Because the only people who are upset about the first few weeks of Donald Trump are these people, right?
Yes.
Like, and they all have these made up stories. It's incredible. Like, people are reaching out to me saying they see now that I was right. And then Donald Trump, like, where is this happening? It's not happening. If that's a real effect, no polls can pick it up.
Well, it's not. You're absolutely right. And here's another thing.
They're not finding it. They can't find any real people who will say this like on camera or in public because it's not true. Because people like what's happening. Have you been seeing the news stories about how far down the border apprehensions have gone? There's like a couple hundred now instead of like the thousands that we had under Biden, which was already a big drop from where it had been. Because people have gotten the message. They didn't even have to do that many deportations, and people stopped coming.
Yes.
They started deporting a few, like, child rapists and murderers and stuff, and, like, everyone stopped showing up in America. Which, if that's not a huge win-win-win situation, then I don't know what is. And even, like, the efficiency stuff, I don't know where they are, and this was the other segment from 60 Minutes that's just incredible.
Yes.
That they're like completely out of touch with the pulse of where the American people are. Is these people, these DC people, like whining about getting laid off and whatever from USAID. And it's incredible because it's like they're like, oh, well, it's just $68 billion. It's such a fraction of the federal budget. It's ridiculous. Like, do you think the American people want to hear that the $68 billion that was going to DC bureaucrats and foreign countries is a tiny amount of money and doesn't matter and is a drop in the bucket when they're like struggling to buy food? There was this one tweet out there of this girl who was whining because she got laid off from some job in the government.
Yeah.
And she had previously been tweeting about like never having to change out of her pajamas to go to work and everything because they've all been work from home forever. And they all get 8 months paid off as severance, by the way, which is an insane
They all
deal
get raises every year.
that you would
And
never
they
get in
work
the
for
private sector.
bureaucracies that do not make any money. They only waste taxpayer money.
Right. So then for them to turn around and this one girl, the pajamas girl, tweeted out like, I just lost my dream job. I hope it was worth your cheap eggs. Like, no, you misunderstand. It's not that you being laid off is an unfortunate adverse event for which I get cheap eggs. Both are good things. I'm happy you're laid off, which is a mean thing to say, but like, I'm sorry because I was paying your salary and you were showing up in your pajamas. So go out in the real world and get a real job, just like all the people that you probably told to learn to code when you like killed their pipeline or got rid of their coal mines or whatever it was that you did. Go learn to code or whatever. And then get back to me. That's a positive thing. And the cheaper eggs is going to be a positive thing when Trump gets that done too. Like they're both good. It's not like, oh, trade-offs. This chick gets fired, but I get cheap eggs. Well, I pick the eggs. It's like, no, I want both things. Like you misunderstood.
Yes. And the same people look around and they say, oh my goodness, we're ruining all our alliances in Europe. And you have to understand that these world leaders, these are no different than middle managers. These people are ideologically completely in the opposite direction that this president and the American people are.
I've never been more embarrassed by Europe, too, than I have been.
A bunch of pussies.
Like crying because J.D. Vance gave a speech that told them they're cracking down on free speech.
This is why I am not an isolationist. A lot of people are mad because I think that we should be involved, and I'm a fan of certain foreign wars, et cetera, et cetera. But there can only be one boss. You can't have these weird indoor cat socialists telling us what to do. And for the Keir Starmer to say that he intends to, if we find a peace with Ukraine and Russia, he intends to have British boots on the ground, but it can only work if American boots are there too. Fuck you, dude. Get out of here.
They're having like their own little secret meeting with Macron and everybody. They're like, since we've been cut out of Trump's like negotiating deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and if it was like, what are we supposed to do? Just simply act like one of them? Have Barack Obama, who's really a total dickless castrati, up there acting like Trudeau and acting as if with an air of overconfidence and no pragmatic strength whatsoever? It's like, no, Obama gave you, by the way, fallen Syria, fallen Libya. He gave you these things.
The refugee crisis, the migrant crisis is all thanks to Obama's brilliant foreign policy and all these pod save morons, Tommy Vietor and Favreau and all the rest of these idiots.
Who then ran to say, we need to do a deal with the Iranians. They'll be good faith actors. See, in order to, there's a better way. In order to encourage them to not make a nuke, we'll give them nuclear technology. But if we show them that we're willing to be strong and faithful partners, they'll respect that. No, they're not going to respect that. What they respect is Donald Trump, a madman, throwing missiles and blowing away their upper leadership. That's what they respect.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need to see?
That's the language they speak.
That's the language they speak, exactly. You know what they don't like? They don't like all of their pagers exploding and their walkie-talkies exploding. Those are the kinds of things that they worry about. They don't like the fact that Israel is going to put a bullet in every nuclear scientist's head in Iran, and they all know it. That's how you have to treat these barbarians. It's amazing. Let's be weaker, and let's make sure that we police free speech in our countries, and we'll kick down doors, and we'll go after free speech people, and we'll go after our political opposition, and we'll act like fascist authoritarians because we got to protect against ever being a fascist authoritarian state. Okay.
But USAID was the most important part of our foreign policy. You just don't understand how important that all was. We have to play some of the 60 Minutes or we're not going to get to all our German friends. We're already 30 minutes into this.
All right, let me find it.
But yeah, a splash in the chat says some countries in Europe are going to have a hard right turn in the not too distant future. Yeah, they can't see that they're causing this themselves. They can't see it. But
no.
when you see these little German bureaucrats,
Yeah, here's a group of Nazis right here who are we asked them what is a crime.
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you're in the internet, if I insult you or a politician...
That sticks around forever.
Yeah.
she's like, wow,
The
good
prosecutors...
point.
Yeah.
And they start all this by framing it like, things are getting a little out of control online in the United States, but Germany has a new and novel approach.
Yes.
Explain.
No, throwing people in prison for saying things you don't like is not, in fact, a new and creative approach.
Right. And
to
also,
society.
when you have a bunch of Islamofascists driving through Christmas parades, and then a bunch of Germans say, what the freak is going on? We don't want these savages around. For you to go after them with fervor is not good.
And then be like, we don't understand why the far-right party is winning. It's so weird.
Yes, they don't seem to like Islamofascists. We need to correct them. Because we have a bad history ourselves.
We are not going to abide by the results of this election.
Amazing.
German law also prohibits the spread of malicious gossip, violent threats, and fake quotes. If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it or likes it, are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders.
Wow.
And they start this off. They're like, we're accompanying these German police on their no-knock 6 a.m. raids. And they said that in this, like, one German area where they're doing this out of, they do, like, 3,000 cases a year. They're doing, like, 10 of these a day. They're, like, no-knock 6 a.m. raiding houses over
going right in.
Some users to push the limits of civility. In the United States, most of what anyone says, sends, or streams on
Push the limits of civility. Herr Freising, you'll push the limits of civility. Open the door.
Line, even if it's hate-filled or toxic, is protected by the First Amendment as free speech.
Dang it.
How can, by the way, any adult say hate-filled? Isn't that the most subjective thing in the world?
Of course.
Like if somebody calls me, which they do all the time, a white supremacist, a Nazi, a fat authoritarian, that's all. That's fine. That's not hate.
Right.
Because really the people who make the decision on what hate is agree with that.
Well, right. And it was fascinating because they went through this like case of when they prosecuted somebody for calling a German politician a Pimmel, which apparently it's like a rude word for male anatomy. But
in Germans. The Krauts just don't get it, Alice. They never have. They don't get it. I am protected from saying that. I don't get arrested because I am of German descent.
I did see one post of talking about like this whole CBS thing. Like maybe like there's something else wrong with the Germans beyond just the Nazism. Like maybe there is something at root here.
Is it what they do every century?
6:01 on a Tuesday morning. And we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany. Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime.
I like it. 6 armed officers, overwhelming use of force, because since this guy is doing memes, he's dangerous and is capable of killing. So they're going to be ready to fill him full of lead, to absolutely gun him down.
It's like if they gave the whole HR department firearms. It's like wild.
The crime, posting a racist cartoon online. At the exact same time, across Germany,
Freaking Germans. They got to change that accent, man. You got to change the language. You can't They
You
all
can't go
sound like
around no-knock rating people for memes while you talk like that. It can't be. It just looks bad.
With their Volkswagen and the Duesenberg outside with the Herr Reich minister waiting for the recap.
You can't bang down people's doors at 6 a.m. and be like, "Excuse me, have you posted the meme?" Like, you can't. It's not all right.
You know, they listen sometimes first. Could you hear something in there?
More than 50 similar raids played out. Part of what prosecutors say is a coordinated effort to curb online hate speech in Germany.
What's the typical reaction when the police show up at somebody's door and they say, hey, we believe you wrote this on the internet?
They say, in Germany we say, das wird man wohl doch mal sagen dürfen. So we are here with crimes of talking, posting on internet, and the people are surprised that this is really illegal to post these kind of words.
They don't think it was illegal?
No, they don't think it was illegal. And they say, no, that's my...
Like, I thought we lived in a democracy.
I keep telling people that Europe is just as free as America.
Didn't we get rid of the brown shirts and the shock troops? Isn't that gone?
Free speech, and we say, no, yeah, free speech as well, but it is also has its limits.
Interpreting those limits
Do you have
is
the
part
one
of
where
the
they laugh about taking people's phones away?
Let me get back to it. Let me see.
Or when she
It's
asks
tricky. German law prohibits any speech that could incite hatred or is deemed insulting.
It's illegal to display Nazi symbolism, to insult as well?
Yes.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there.
Okay,
But
so we saw. I'm not sure where it is.
It's not
I
true.
sent you the whole long one.
And then somebody else
That's enough, right?
reposts it or likes it. Are they committing a
We
crime?
did that too.
Yeah, in the case of repo.
The application
Oh, here
of
we go. They're
It's a
laughing
kind
here.
of punishment.
When you take their
Okay.
and sometimes keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked. It's a kind
They're all laughing.
Good times.
We've ruined their lives. They can't contact their children anymore. Frigging.
And then at the very end,
It's
I
the
think
very
it's
end,
when
right,
they're
of the entire
walking
thing?
on the stairs when they say they're bringing German order.
Let me see so I can get to that.
Finding people, sometimes putting them in jail. Does it make a difference if it's a World Wide Web and there's a lot of hate
This
out
is a good
there?
part, yeah.
I would say yes, because what's the option? The option is to say we don't do anything? No.
We can't just let
we are
people post
prosecutors. If we
things.
see a crime, we want to investigate it. It's a lot of work. And there are also borders. It's not an area without law.
Oh, no.
No, it goes to it. I think.
Does?
I thought
I
it
don't
did.
think so.
Maybe it's right
No, that's-
before
And
that.
criticized for
They're like
using
on
X to
stairs when
promote
they say
Germany's far-right party
Oh, I
in
think it's right
democracy
here.
are protecting democracy and discourse by introducing a touch of German order to the unruly World Wide Web.
Touch of German order. How beautiful is that? A touch of German.
Maybe we
How-
shouldn't let the Germans be in charge of anything anymore.
But imagine this media. A touch of German order. Since when is that? Since when is that like something that we're aspiring to now? A touch of German order is historically fatal for millions of people.
But can you believe that CBS would go ahead and air this in America? Like, is everybody on their entire production staff like completely tone deaf and out of touch? I don't get
if people
it.
feel that these people are counter to Musk and Trump, the good people in Melrose right now who aren't going to buy anything on February 28th, yeah, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, we need
Wow,
a touch
what
of
a
German."
good and creative solution
We should have a touch
to
of
this
German
all
order.
this online hate.
Just arrest them. Just arrest the people. Why not? Because obviously that's how Trump got elected, right? I check in with this girl sometimes. She used to work at Intercom when I was there 20 years ago.
Mhm.
She's now got.
Is she not okay during the Trump years?
No. Could you imagine being someone who voted for this? After everyone that worked in his previous administration sounded the alarm that he's a fascist? After he tried to overthrow our government once before? After they put this plan in writing and then denied knowing anything about it? And after witnessing his sociopathic behavior the past 8+ years with their own eyes? It's no wonder his supporters are so desperate for the lies. It must be the only thing helping them sleep at night. The problem is that she has to understand that, yeah, you can imagine people voting for this because people voted for this and love it. And as a matter of fact, people are having no trouble sleeping at night.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's people who didn't even vote for him who like what's happening right now. because 60% of the country didn't vote for him, but 60% of the country likes what's happening right now in all the polls that are coming out. Like, everyone that they can find that's saying this stuff is happy with what's going on. So they need to calm themselves down and ask, like, do they want to just be this opposition party forever, where they just like resist and go out in the street in pink pussy hats and with signs that say girls just want fundamental human rights? And like, I mean, is that...
Well, you add...
Is that what they want? Because they're going to stay like this.
Right.
Like, do they have the energy to keep this up for the next... Like, a lot of people have already peeled off from this, like, marching in the streets movement.
Well, and also I think one of the reasons that is that, like, for instance, in our place, and with my listeners in Connecticut, heating bills are $1,000.
Right, yeah. So this is fascinating, and I've been like digging into this a bunch because this is starting to be a news story in Massachusetts now. And I mentioned the Mass Save program. Part of the problem is that they did a 25% increase in the Mass Save program when they re-upped the program for the next like few years. So they re-up it like 3 years at a time. So it's like 2025 to 2027 or something. And it went from $4 billion last time they re-upped it to $4.99 billion this time. So it's a 25% increase in the cost of this program. This is the one that like lets you replace your heat pumps and whatever. And they have this incredible article where CVB, can't say that, interviews like the EverSource guy. And he's essentially saying like, should we be like spending this much on this program? And he's like, but what's, the cost of doing nothing is far more. And even if you look back, there's...
Did he really say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
About like the green energy switching people over, right? And if you look back, there were news stories about this that I wasn't really paying that much attention last July when they re-upped the Mass Save program. But now the lawmakers are freaking out because their constituents are freaking out and saying we have to go back and relook at the cost of this program because they all obviously, like the, whatever it is, there's some like committee that does this, some whatever energy thing, and they approved all these rate increases last summer because of the cost of the Mass Save program. And there were stories about it then because it was controversial. And just to put it in context, the whole cost of California's comparable program over several years for their state, that's like, whatever it is,
10 times bigger.
10 times bigger than ours, is $4.3 billion.
It's amazing.
So, like, this is a really expensive program. And by the way, like, we've done Mass Save and gotten the free light bulbs and like to see if there's any projects we should do that we should save on and whatever.
Yes.
It doesn't save you that much freaking money.
And can we add something else? We could do an entire show about the freaking power strip.
Oh, yeah.
Where half the choices don't work because I'm being punished. They do on purpose. They don't work. You can't have this one's not going to work.
No, and like to put some weather stripping under your door. And I mean, like, that's all good stuff, right? Like, I don't like drafts coming to my house either, but I don't, we got some extra insulation in our basement and like different things, but it's not going to make up for your $1,000 electric bill or gas bill that a lot of people are getting. It's wild that we're doing this to people. And like, so when people are, in some cases doing less than
Did you cook that pasta in that?
No.
Oh, okay.
I cooked the pasta and then added it into the sauce as the sauce was cooking. I made an Alfredo pasta. It was my first attempt. I don't think it was great, but...
Well, the only thing that wasn't good was you didn't break the pasta. You got to break the bleep out of pasta.
Well, I was
ways.
rushing by that point.
I know you were. I know.
Because I had somebody huffing over my shoulder at me.
That was not right.
To get ready to do
I
a
laid
podcast.
off your huge adventure. You were saying? Before I interrupted you?
Anyway, it is funny to watch all the politicians there now, like going back and being like, you know what? The EverSource and National Grid are making too much in profits. Like, so we're going to go back and re-examine. Like, after they approved the rate increases that fund their stupid ass program, like, I
hear you, dog.
So now they're hearing heat from their constituents because it turns out people don't love $1,000 gas bills when they're using less gas than they did the year before.
All right, Chili Guano, you ready for the chat?
All right, yeah, let's head to the chat.
There's one message.
Oh, boy.
It's from a PhD.
Oh. The Good Doctor?
Yep, Dr. Cheswick.
Tom, I don't think you want to hang around at conferences. They're not as much fun as you'd think. Now, I mean, I now have some sort of bizarre head cold that wants to travel into my lungs and then throughout the rest of my body.
Has it turned you gay yet?
He's going to turn you gay, and it may shut down an ear of yours, which, by the way, I've got to try
Tom's
to fix.
ear still doesn't work.
Yeah.
And of course, there's no partying. It's just, it's not like it used to be. It ain't like the old days, my friend.
Yeah. So, Dr. Cheswick, I've always gone to these things, and this is even 20 years ago when I went to a Microsoft one. And if you're a member of the media, there's always some kind of party reception to do. If you remember the media, it's like, and that's the Super Bowls are fun. All the things you do are fun. So you really get, that's the way to go. Get a media pass to these things. You get full access to the thing. You can still, I love it. I love a convention. I'm sorry. Remember that great one with the brain injury one where we were talking to Schwarzenegger's wife?
Yeah, people still comment. Our kids still wear the shirts from that, the neuroscience is cool shirts.
That was a great one. They were giving away free like bike helmets on that one or something. It was
very cool.
Yeah, and all like the Comic-Cons and this and that. It's I'm a convention guy. As a media member, you want to make sure you get all the passes to all.
You don't want to have to give speeches at them.
I don't want to have to give speeches.
Like TED Talky speeches or be on panels.
I mean, I could give I gave one speech when we started Herald Radio, me and Hillary Chabot at the Park Plaza, and my part was disastrous. So it was disastrous, and I had some notes in my hands, and I was shaking. But I thought I went in thinking I was going to nail it, and then all my notes fell out of my hands and fluttered down off the riser, and they fluttered away. And Hillary felt terrible. Everybody felt terrible. It was one of those. It was a total disaster. But a speech is going to be a disaster when you feel like you're a fraud.
When you're you.
When you're me, it's going to be a disaster generally.
Nobody hired Tom for a speech. Well, if you want to hire him for a speech, actually, just hire him for a speech.
I'll leave if I don't get many offers.
But don't expect a lot.
Yeah. It's not going to go well. If you want your employees to feel awkward and like say, you know what, maybe I do have a good life, then bring me in there. That's probably the way to go. Did I finish his message?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I did. Okay. I think I did. I'm sorry your conferences suck. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Leave those chat messages. Thank you, Dr. Cheswick. That's burnbarrelpodcast.com. There's a red button where you can record a chat message. If you want to join us in the live chat every day, you can do that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. There's also a little extra content each week. Like we mentioned, we did a bunch last night. So that's up there in the Patreon. What else? YouTube, Rumble, all the places. See you tomorrow.
C'est la vie.